So let me explain
Did you get the picture of matching
this
beanie?
tool. So we've got,
Sure.
you know, if you bend, whenever you're going to bend anything, you're going to have a bend point, and you have something, you're going to hold it on one side and bend it on the other, right? So the bend point in this case is a hole in the center. And what you see here are three different scales, okay? And it's the exact same thing. It's just that with really fine wire, I'll change the head, and I'll use a different head for really fine one. This one here is for that scale. If I'm bending heavier wire, okay? So that's why it looks like that. And in this case, I mostly are using this one here, 16th inch, and you have a long pin and a short one. The long pin is the bend point, and this is the short one's going to be the pushing side, and the other short one here is going to be the other held side. And I'm always going to be bending around this point here, okay? It's always going to be there. Now, the reason why there are a number of holes is because how far away this pin is from the center is going to determine the height and depth of the tooth. This is a cool tool because I can literally make an infinite number of different kinds of gears. It's just a matter of how it gets set up. So how far away this is from there. So, and it's really just a matter of placing it. I'm going to randomly put it here.
Did you make this tool?
Yeah. I made this after visiting a company one day that said that I could buy a gear, a steel bending tool that would allow me to make my gears. And when I got there was no way, that their tool could ever allow me to do what I did. So I remember so frustrated on the drive home on the Mass Pike, I sort of conceived of this as like, this is the simplest solution. Okay, so the basic principle is that if you're going to bend wire back and forth, and you're going to bend consistently two bends, an inside bend and an outside bend, as long as they're consistent, as long as all of these bends are the same, and all of those bends are the same, you're going to get a circle. And if they are different, if this bend is different than this one, it has to make a circle. If they were exactly the same, then you would have a straight rack. Okay? If both bends were the same, you would do this. When one becomes larger, it starts to turn around, okay? So these two pins are basically the inside and the outside bends, and they can be set anywhere on the scale. And what I did when I first made the tool was I figured, okay, this is going to be a time saver for me, and I'm going to need to record what I do. So I numbered the holes. It's stamped in. This is 90. That's 0, 45, 135. There are 180 holes, one hole every 2 degrees of the circle. That's just a way of recording them. And then I started to make this book, which I could record all the pertinent information for a gear. So starting off making a new gear, it's really kind of trial and error based on experience, based on what I've done before. Sometimes it's an evolution of a previous gear, but this tells me that I need 8 inches of wire. This is the wire I use with 1/16 inch stainless steel. The gauge was 1. The pin number depth was 3. The stops were 55 and 104. Okay, so if I wanted to make that specific gear, all I have to do is get that amount of that kind of wire, set it up like that, and I will make that gear again. Which was a huge evolution for when you're starting off.
How many gears did you make before you started to jot?
Lots. many gears. Okay. So I just randomly set this up. I'm going to move this here. This is just, I have no idea what I'm going to come up with, but it doesn't matter. Okay? Maybe what I'll do is I'll just cut this off. Okay, so the first bend, I just have to hold it a little bit past. And we'll start and we'll bend to that point. Okay? And I can feel it hit and stop. Okay? Now, very carefully, without flipping the wire over, I'm going to keep the orientation. I don't want to flip it like that. I'm going to keep the orientation. Now I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to bend to this stop.
So is the device you were going to buy similar to this?
No.
You just
No, it's completely different.
How much money you can make by selling some of these?
How many people are going to be?
1, 2, 3.
Listen, I know. It's really, you can see what it is. It's really simple.
Make it yourself, right?
You know, I thought about
Only
doing
maybe
that.
5
I thought about
people
doing
wanna
that.
buy it.
But I thought about doing it, but I mean, you can kind of consider it open source, right? I mean, you can see what it is. At some point, maybe I will, and if you want to buy it, then that would be fine. And if you want to, I mean, different people in the past have seen this and they've made their own versions and stuff.
So how many times have you like gotten lost or just driven down a road that you weren't supposed to go down because you were like thinking about something
Oh
like
my
this?
God. Oh yes,
real question.
totally. Okay, so I'm going to just continue now
Did you get the
to bend.
yeah. Just came up with the.
Yeah, with a solution. Oh yeah, yeah.
Is it a hard stop when you hit those pins, or is it like by feel?
It's a little, it's by feel. I mean, I can definitely bend it, over bend it if I'm not careful. And all wire, as you all know, all wire has a different amount of springiness. So that's why every new gear is really trial and error. It's really, like there's no math involved here. It's really just intuitive. And generally, if I'm making a gear that I've never made before, I'll make a quarter of the gear, and to see where I am, if I'm shooting for a particular gear of a certain number of teeth, then you can tell where you are just by doing part of it. It's like, okay, I know that it's going to make too many. All right, this is. I'm gonna do a quarter. Let me see what.
Did you machine these yourself? These little
Yeah.
tool heads?
Yeah. I mean, this was made many years ago. This is pretty accurate because I was able to. I cut this on a rotary table. Rotary table is a table that you put onto a milling machine and allows you to crank very accurately the number of degrees. Okay, and that was the only thing that really had to be accurately made.
I'm sorry, what's determining? I mean, it seems like you're holding this, positioning this, just sort of randomly.
No. See, I'm
Setting
hooking
it
it.
with the pin.
Oh, I couldn't see that there was another little pin
Yes,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I
hooking
saw
it.
you place it earlier, but it's not. I can't see it
Yeah,
from here. So.
yeah. I'm hooking it on that pin, and I'm holding it in
Yes,
place.
got it. No, now I know. I couldn't see.
Yeah.
That I see.
Right. So it looks like if I do maybe just a little more, and there's not much more wire here, I'm going to do one more, and I think that's going to be about a quarter of what this is going to be. As I said last night, I love doing this. I love sitting and bending gears because it's really very meditative. Okay, so now that's up, and that's perpendicular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that would be, so this is going to be about 24 tooth gear. So if I need a 22 tooth gear for a particular piece, then I could either open up this stop a little bit, which would be moving that maybe 1 dot, or close this one down. right? There were the situations where like with small gears, where that was actually too extreme. So I put little pins on there, and you can do a half, depending upon where it hits. Highly accurate, highly accurate.
How do you make those other gears radial?
This,
Yeah.
okay, so this was made by cutting a round form, probably out of MDF or something, and then bending the wire around. Like a lot of times I'll sort of bend wire around things to get a circle. And then probably I set up, because I wanted those to be pretty accurate, so I probably took a board, put a hole in it, and marked off 2 of the teeth, and then cut a notch out of where I wanted to attach teeth, and then put the axle in, and this is probably after mounting half of it on the axle, and then with the spot welding those there, and then indexing it, spot welding it, indexing it, spot welding it. Yeah, and potentially trimming after the fact, right? Just because it would be easier. Was that?
You're soldering on little loop U-shapes, so 2 gears.
No, just single pieces. Just single pieces. And I'm telling you, for me, like spot welding was like it was a revolution to have a spot welder. It was like it changed my world because I could tack things together. And now most of these parts have been silver soldered after the fact. But always spot welding to construct it. It's very, very easy that way. Now, there are a lot of things that I did in this piece that I wouldn't do now, probably. Like I was using a lot of collars as little axle points, and I'm not crazy about that. Like now I would rather bend a loop because I really like the quality of a bent loop. It just feels really nice, and it works just as well. So,
Do you bend the loop with pliers?
was that?
Do you just use a pair of pliers to make the loops?
Yeah, just round those pliers. Yeah. So,
The baby.
wouldn't you like to know?